Well, guys, comment on this video and get a chance to win 600 UC. Every week I do that, but you also have to be a subscriber and you have to like the video. So do that for me and it will pay off for you. This one's about the training grounds and using it to practice. I've been doing this for the last week and it has really improved my mechanics in the game and my ability to be on target, my reflexes, my movement, everything. And it's probably the thing that most people dislike doing more than anything. But this is kind of what I do. This is my routine lately, and it starts with just single tapping these targets from hip fire, because the basis of every shot you take is going to start with hip firing. And you have to line your crosshair up before you scope in, or very close to before you scope in, or else you're just going to have to take time to get your crosshair onto the target once it's scoped in. So start there, do a bunch of rounds like that. I usually do about 200 or 300 rounds just single tapping. Then I scope into these stationary targets, always go for headshots. I like to use an SMG with a thumb grip to begin with on each segment, and I'll usually put a red dot on it. And the reason is because the open scope time is so fast on an SMG with a thumb grip that once you switch to an AR, it makes it a whole lot easier. The third step will be hip firing single shot while I'm moving, jumping around, going prone. Typically I'll start off just running around trying to hit these moving targets, then I'll start doing prone and crouching as I do it. A lot of times you'll have guys in here that'll be shooting targets as well. Don't get frustrated. Just start aiming at them instead of the targets. I mean, they're the real thing, so use them and try to track them. It's not very easy and it's not very fun. This isn't like practicing recoil control where you get to see nice spray pattern and you brag to your friends and everything. This is difficult, man. Actually keeping your crosshairs on target while you're moving around is tough, but if you can get good at it, it'll really improve your CQC fighting, and it'll actually help you get on target faster when you scope in. So that's number 3, is moving around, single tapping. And then the fourth thing that I'll begin to do is ADSing. I'll do a lot of crouching as well. That's the fourth thing I'll do, is do a lot of crouching. Crouching is really important in CQC, and it's also really important in controlling recoil. If you're trying to get better at recoil control, make it a habit to crouch every time you scope in. It reduces your recoil way more than any attachments are going to. So it's like if you have a fully kitted out M4 but you're not crouching, then why are you picking up attachments? You have to crouch if you're going to get good at it. This also lets you dial in your sensitivity. You'll begin to figure out, like, okay, I'm overshooting targets or I'm undershooting targets and I need a little bit more or a little bit less sensitivity. I've lowered mine from 200 to 150 on gyroscope's no scope setting, and it really helped. It really improved my sensitivity. I find that high sensitivity is great for long range spraying and just running around in general and snapping up on targets that you're going to shoot for if you're going to spray them, but it's not good for CQC. It will make you overcompensate and overshoot people, and it's not good. The fifth thing I do after I do a lot of crouching and shooting is I do ADS. I scope in, and again, see how fast the scope open time is with an SMG with a thumb grip. And the benefit to doing this is if you can get good and you can get accurate doing it with an SMG with a thumb grip, you'll be so much better when you do switch over to an AR. And ARs are typically what people run around in the game with. So if you practice with this and then you switch to the AR, you'll be very surprised. I mean, look how fast it is. It's really fast. There's something about blowing up tires, man. I just love it. I wish I could just run around and blow up tires. But what I do, if you're not a person who loves to do the training ground, is put your favorite song on and just do one song's worth. Just start there. If you think about it, if you play a game and you get 10 kills, you probably did about 30 seconds worth of actual gun mechanics. If you do 5 minutes worth of target shooting with a purpose like this, where it's actually starting from the basics of how you shoot and move your way up, it gets your fingers sort of warmed up in a way where like you first start with the basics. I'm a shooter in real life. I like to shoot rifles, long range shooting at rifles, and if you don't follow a set routine, it will greatly affect your accuracy. So by doing this, you're gonna get so much more practice just by doing this for 5 minutes, that if you don't do it, man, you're just doing yourself a disservice. So if you can stand to do 5 minutes, one song, your favorite song, just put your favorite song on and go for it. And as you can see with the AKM, it's a much slower open scope time, and it just allows you to get on the targets way better. And the reason I started doing this is because I was just having a rough day, and so I came in training ground. So I'm still off a lot when I'm doing this. This is like one of my worst training routines, and I decided to make a video out of it. This is another movement that I really like to do. Another mechanic is crouching behind and standing up and scoping in. This works also. The same movement in reverse is basically what you'll use to crouch and spray. You'll crouch and scope in to reduce recoil in your spraying. So it's really good to have your controls set up and have your muscle memory set up so that you can open scope and crouch or stand up, but hit that button at the same time. It's a really good thing to do. And this is a movement that I use a ton, and I'll actually look for places that I can use this movement because it's such a quick little pop-up, shoot, duck back down. And there's lots of these places on all the maps, especially Miramar and Erangel. It's just full of these kind of places. You can get behind ridge lines and do this. You can get behind windowsills, rocks, you name it. But then I like to lean to the right, and once you kind of get used to it, you can do it all in one motion. But first I'll just shoot over the top of the cover, and then I'll peek right. I never ever peek left. I'll show you why in a second. And again, when you switch to the AR, it's so much easier. It just allows you a lot more time to sort of pre-aim and get on the target. And again, it gets your muscle memory figured out, and it also lets you look for situations that you can apply your skills in. You know, if you're really good at sniping, you're going to look for ridge lines and places where you can set up and overlook big areas. And if you get good at certain movements in the game, you can look for cover and look for structures that you're able to use your movements from. Don't get too close. Here's a tip. See how your gun sticks up in the air? They can see that, and then they'll know exactly where you're about to peek from. So always back up. And even if the piece of cover is bigger than you standing, if you back up, a lot of times, if you back up far enough, a lot of times you can be able to peek the top just by standing up. You know, so don't think that you always have to stay right there next to cover. A lot of times the best thing you can do is just back way up. And also it will fool people. I've actually backed up before, like 50, 60, 80 meters, and still use that same piece of cover to peek, and then just laid down, and the person will rush the rock thinking I'm still behind it, and they just completely expose themselves to me, who's 50 meters behind it. So that's a little movement that I really like. It's won me a lot of 1v1 gunfights, and it's also allowed me, being fast at it, has allowed me to take on, like in solo versus squads or duos, where you can get people before they have a chance to shoot back at you. You just pop up and get them. This is kind of a little bit more advanced. You stand up, you lean, and then you crouch. So it's 3 movements. And this just is, a lot of times if you first stand up and you're not on target, you can kind of lean to sort of throw them off a little bit. But it just gives you a better movement that is harder to hit. You know, it's just a little bit more advanced, and it's sort of the next thing that you can step up and try to do. It's really good up against, like I said, multiple people. It keeps you moving around the cover. If you can move but maintain accuracy, rarely will you lose a gunfight. That's one of the big dynamics in the game, is to keep moving so that you dodge their shots. Maybe strafing left and right would be a good example. But if you can maintain accuracy while doing it, then you will win almost every one of those gunfights. I don't like to peek left, so I really don't practice peeking left. I don't do it, period. And here's why. If you look, the crosshairs are to the right of the character, right? So that's my hit point where I'm going to hit something. That's my aiming point. If I'm going to peek left, look how far over I have to get from my cover to clear my shooting lane. Like, the firing line is now clear. Look how much of my body is exposed. So there's really, the only thing that's hidden is like half my body and my legs, but like my chest and arm are exposed. So what's the point? If I do this on the right side though, and I get just where I'm cleared just enough, if you look at how much of my body is sticking out, it's like half my helmet is sticking out, right? Because the character's right-handed, he holds the gun in the right hand, and so therefore he doesn't have to expose the left side of his helmet. He's just exposing basically his eye and his arm. And so peeking on the right side is very effective. Peeking on the left side, I'd rather just do that. And this is kind of what that looks like in real game. And so that's how I prefer to do the left side. I don't really lean peek it. Now this is the pro lean. This is where you toggle your lean left and right. And I'll be honest, I don't do this. I don't see a lot of professional players doing this. Guys that are actual PMCO paid on teams, they don't really do it. There's a time and a place to do it. I'll go into it, but look, it affects your accuracy. And what did I just talk about? Creating movement, but you have to be able to stay accurate. If your movement causes you to be less accurate than how much you're gonna dodge bullets, then it's not worth doing. Look how much movement it causes over those targets, right? I'm not really practicing anything here. I'm just showing you the amount of inaccuracy that doing this left-right lean causes you to have. There's really no point to it, in my opinion. I don't do it. That's the only reason that I have a left lean button, in all honesty. I really just don't even use it. But this is the scenario that it is worth doing. If you're downrange 50 meters or more, you can create movement, but you can maintain your accuracy. So in that instance, go for it. I still don't really prefer to do it. I would rather just be accurate and try to get a good, fast, clean shot. If I'm missing my shots, sometimes I will lean because I might need that little extra movement to throw them off for just a second while I can correct my aim. So sometimes I'll do it, but as a rule, it's not a method. It's not a mechanic that I'm just gonna go to. I'll kind of practice it a little bit just so that I can hit my left lean button if I ever need to in game. The real benefit of doing this in game, in my opinion, is against bolt action snipers. If you're up against an AWM or any bolt action sniper where you really have to avoid a headshot, then obviously toggling your head left and right is going to make that a lot harder for them. But in my opinion, if you're going up against a bolt action sniper where it takes one shot to kill you in the head and you have an AR, I think you're making a mistake. Sometimes you have to do it. And if you're gonna do it, that's a good method to use. Create head movement, make them miss their shot, and then that gives you the ability to shoot. I actually prefer to duck usually in that instance because it doesn't affect my accuracy that much. I'd rather just duck, and that actually helps out my accuracy. So that's kind of my method for avoiding bolt action snipers, is just duck. But you can duck and lean and crouch, and that works even better, I guess. Another thing I really like to practice a lot, this will really help you out when you start getting shot from behind while you're shooting, and that is your reaction to third party. Typically people will jump like this. They're getting shot, they'll jump, whip around, and try to shoot the person. And in my opinion, this is the worst reaction. The jump button is the most overused thing in PUBG when it comes to getting people killed. I love it when people jump. There is a time and a place to jump, if you look right here, this guy jumps, and that's actually when I hit him. And I end up going prone to switch guns, and he can't hit me, see? Going prone is such a better option. I'm not a person who snakes, but I will go prone or I'll crouch to avoid getting hit when I'm whipping over for a target that's shooting at me. And so what you want to do is shoot at a target, scope out and go prone, look for where another target is, and then scope in again and shoot that target. This will win you a lot of situations where normally you would be dead, because a lot of times when you go prone, you just completely get an obstruction between you and your enemy. Maybe it's a little slight slope or a rock, or just the grass hides you and he doesn't know where you're at. Going prone is always going to be your best bet. Sometimes I will just crouch and spin around, but by making your hitbox basically small as possible against somebody that's shooting you is the best reaction to have against somebody that's shooting you out of the blue and you didn't know about it, because jumping up in the air is typically suicide. If you do get away with it, it's just because the guy didn't have very good aim, because you just exposed your entire body to him and you gave him like a second, like 1 full second of a very predictable movement that you're gonna make. Guys even jump when they're getting shot by bolt action rifles, and that's even a mistake. And so you see how like I'm completely hidden from cover. So a lot of times when you go prone, when you're getting shot at, that's all you got to do, and then you get time to heal up or whatever, and you can just stand up and shoot. In my opinion, it's the absolute best. You know, going prone is the absolute best thing to do. Do not jump. See, that just gives me so much time. Barely visible to whoever would have been shooting me over there. The other thing you can do is just crouch. A lot of times when guys are shooting at you, their bullets naturally will climb because of recoil, so they'll be shooting kind of the upper body, and when you crouch, you will duck some of those bullets. You know, the theory to that is you may actually put yourself right where they're shooting if they're doing body shots, and you can get a headshot. You can give them a headshot that way. So I actually do prefer always to just drop prone and whip around, but it's a good movement to practice. It's something that can save you in game. Comment on this video, guys, and it will enter you in for the next 600 UC giveaway. I'll have a video coming out next of just some gameplay, I think, trying to use some of these skills that I'm practicing. But good luck on the giveaway, guys. Thanks a lot.